Predictive Analytics from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, and Behavioral and Personal Finance from IIT Kharagpur, Econometrics Modeling from IIT Roorkee, and Designing Learner Centric MOOC from IIT Bombay. He was a member of Board of Studies for PG Board in Commerce at Guru Nanak College Autonomous and Garden City University, and has been a resource person delivering guest lectures at various colleges, institutions like Indian Economics Association, GSSS, Women's College, Mysore, Cambridge Institute of Technology, Bangalore, and Women's Christian College, Chennai on advanced studies and research methodology for PG and MPhil and PhD level students. He was also visiting faculty at BSc Institute Limited, Chennai for quantitative technique courses in global financial markets professional programs. 35 research papers at national level and 7 international papers are added to his credit, of which 30 papers have been published in Scopus journals and UGC Careless A with ISSN number. He has also acted as a resource person in various conferences, seminars, workshops, and as panelist in panel discussions. His interest areas include human capital formation, skill gap analysis, inferential statistics, and advanced multivariate statistical techniques. We are glad to have you amongst us, sir. Welcome, sir. Kindly take over the session.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for the warm introduction. I hope I'm audible. First of all, good evening, everyone. First, I would like to apologize because I am joining remotely from my mobile. I wanted to show a few more websites also regarding the topic. So kindly apologize me for that. So I'll be connecting remotely, but I hope I am audible and loud and clear. And so the topic given to me is about the research ethics. So first of all, that the FDP has been designed in such a way that the name has been effective and quality research writing, where you would have been experiencing 6 days, and today is the final day. We are going to focus on the research ethics. So I'll start with at this juncture, I'll thank my gurus because without whom I'm definitely not here today. So I would like to thank Dr. M.V. Arlan because if it is research or if it is about ethics, obviously that is it's not just research, not just ethics. I have learned how to do and how not to do from him. So he is my alma mater and he was the former syndicate member and the head of the department of Guru Nanak College. So I would like to thank at this point of time to my guru, Dr. M.V. Arlalan, and his guru, Dr. M. Ranganathan, who was a former registrar and head of the Department of Commerce in University of Madras, and his guru, Dr. O.R. Krishnaswamy, who's an adjunct professor. I think he's no more. And I also thank my head of the department, current head of the department, Dr. S. Seshadrinathan, who always constantly motivates me to go, for this kind of an extra, extension activities. And I also thank the authorities of the Patrician College, especially the principal Geeta Rufus ma'am and Sweetie ma'am for inviting me for this lecture. So thank you so much for calling me. And moving on to the agenda. So it's about research ethics, right? See, now there is a need for research ethics. Okay, now there is I want this to go on the presentation mode so that we can do it. I think we can do it better. Yeah. If we can do that in the presentation mode. Yes. So research ethics, see, what is the necessary to learn about this research ethics? We have been doing research for a long number of years, right? But what is the need for research ethics today? So is the research is not done in an ethical way? So that is a question which arises because see, so long years we have not raised the point of ethics in research, right? Only some few years back now, it has become a mandatory paper actually, even for a PhD, to study about it and to complete that paper. Okay. So my presentation will go like this. My agenda I have planned like what is the importance of research and what are the problems that we encounter in doing the research, and I'll also speak about the principles which actually which are the fundamental things which lay down the research ethics, and some of the research misconducts, that is, for example, we call it as FFP, that is fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. Okay. And I also would like to conclude this session with the roles and responsibilities of research scholar as well as the research supervisor, because for both of them there are specific responsibilities and specific roles and regulations are being given, and of course we need to derive at it. Okay. So that's what I have designed for this session for 1 hour. Probably I think I will finish it within an hour. So let's see. So moving on further, what is the importance of research? Next slide, please. Can we have it in presentation mode, please? F5.
I'm presenting, sir. It is not visible,
No,
sir.
it's in, no, it is in PPT mode. It's not like in a presentation mode.
No, no, oh, no. It won't be visible, sir.
F5.
If I show in the slideshow, it won't be visible, sir.
Oh, is it so? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as we all know, I believe there are different streams of people who are here in this forum. I'm going to speak in general only, but sometimes I may give examples from my field because I belong to the commerce and management field. So we all know that today there are three important aspects which falls in academia. One is the teaching, which is our core area. The second one is the research that we are supposed to do. And the third one is the extension activities that we do, that is apart from the research and the teaching. Okay. So there are three dimensions which the UGC has laid down now. Yes, teaching is our core. So we don't compromise on that. We teach. And for extra extension activities also, it's fine. But when it comes to research, research cannot be pushed. Research, cannot be imparted on us. Okay. We need to build that intent to learn or to do a research. That is very important. And when we speak about research, we mostly, the academicians like us, we focus mostly only on the academic research. But there is something, which is very bigger. We also have applied research, we have fundamental research, we have, plenty of corporate research and stuffs like that. But we focus more on our academic research. Okay. And if I ask what is the need or what is the importance of doing a research, we may come up with so many answers. But I need to be a little frank and brutally open at some point of time. So I'll say that the main aspect of doing a research, whether you like or not, I do not know. If if I give an option, you can do a research, but I'll not offer a degree. I'll not give you the doctorate degree. Will we do it? I don't think most of us will go for it. And today, what has happened? All this remuneration and emoluments, the teaching emoluments, are connected to research. So we are actually forced to do research, right? I think some of us also will agree that we have to publish at least 2 papers in UGC care lister or 3 papers in Scopus. Only then we get the increments and emoluments and stuffs like that. Okay. And first of all, I would like to give a caveat here. See, I'm not going to teach you anything in this 1 hour. Well, I'm going to share my experiences in research, which I have been doing it for at least 1.5 decades. So I also welcome the suggestions from the other participants so that I can also learn from you. Okay. So it's just a discussion session rather than it's not a tutoring class, rather it's a discussion forum. Okay. So we say that, research is for the pleasure of getting the intellectual joy, and we can say that for to get the respect and so on. But there are plenty of reasons why the academic research is important. Actually, the end of your academic research should be the starting point of the usability. Okay. The managerial implications are very important. Okay. We have done our PhD, fine, we have got the PhD degree. What is the use of that to the society? Okay. Now, for example, as I was introduced, I did on human capital formation, which was my PhD topic. Okay. I have been awarded doctorate, and almost for 10 years I have been now doctorate, and I have also produced one PhD candidate. But what is the use of that? What is the use of that to the society. That is more important. The managerial implication, that is more important. So an importance of research is so many importances are there. But I have given here like academic research facilitates learning. True, but if it is done properly, okay, and research only when it is conducted in a proper way, that is only in a scientific way, okay, only in an unbiased way, then that may lead to all these benefits. If not, if it is done, if it is just done for the job of doing it, okay, say I want to publish 2 articles in UGC care or in Scopus, okay, fine, let me do it, then there is no point in it. Okay, so moving on further, next slide. I have given some psychological states of a PhD student. Obviously, see, I would also like to share my experience. When I joined my PhD program, I thought that nobody should have done this kind of PhD. So that is how I started with. Okay, and then I went to my professor. My professor was really kind enough. Because of him, I'm here today. So I would like to quote many examples from my life, my PhD life itself. So I went and told my professor in the initial days when I joined the first day. I was a full-time scholar. So I said, sir, I want to do some research which will tilt the society. That's what I started with. Then he asked me, then you tell me what is the topic that you wanted to do. Then I gave some 4 or 5 topics. And then he said, is it possible for you to do all these 4 or 5? Then he said these topics are very narrow. Then the first activity, what is that he gave me? He told me to come up with 100 topics of your interest. He asked me to identify the topic names, 100 topics of my interest. See, I was interested in human capital. That comes under human resource, right? It's not in finance or not in marketing. So I want to do it in human resource. So, like you can go for employee turnover, absenteeism, effectiveness of the of the employees, job satisfaction, which almost all of us will do on it. Okay, right? So he wanted me to list down some 100 topics in human resource, which itself was a very, very tedious task for me. So when we start with the most optimistic note, and when we end, at the end of third year or fourth year, we'll come to a conclusion. Oh my God, when will we submit it? Right? Because our energies will be drained. It is a very tedious task. So it has to be done in a very scientific way. When it is not done in a scientific way, or when it is not done in a systematic way, then obviously our energies are going to be drained. What we say in Tamil, விழலுக்கு இறைத்த நீர் போலே, because we are not properly channelizing our resources, our energies, and so on, right? So those are the conditions which any PhD, even a part-time PhD student or a full-time PhD student, will go through with that kind of psychological state. Next slide, please. And then moving on, what are the problems which are encountered in doing a research? See, there are plenty of problems, and each one is very customized. Every researcher will have a different kind of a problem. Okay, so I have tried here to list down few reasons why we have a problem in doing a research. Number one, lack of scientific training. That is very, 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 very important, because we lack in the system, we lack in the procedure, we lack in the method of doing a research. Okay, all of us, we do have a paper on research methodology in our PG, but how far we actually read it and how far we actually apply it in even our MCOM project itself is a big question. Okay, so that is very important. Lack of scientific training is very important, because you need to have a good a good communicator and a good a professor who can who can build the inquisitiveness about a research. And I was very lucky enough to have my professor, because he used to ask question at every point of time, so that I have to come up with an answer, so that he created that inquisitiveness in my in my brain. The second one is very important again, insufficient interaction. See, majority of the times we don't interact with the supervisor, or they don't have time, or we don't have time, or both of us don't have time, even if it is full time or part time. So when there is, and if, there may not be any interaction between the research scholars. Okay, because they will say that, I won't teach you, or I won't share my knowledge, or not my skills, my statistical skills, or my English language skills and stuffs like that. Okay, so when you have insufficient interaction, when there is a resource constraint, that is very, very important. That is very important. See, now if you see, I have a resource constraint. Now I am not in the control of my presentation, right? So for example, I want to do a PhD, but I don't have a SPSS, or I don't have a laptop, or I don't have, I have a constraint, a resource constraint. Then again, doing a research is going to be a tedious process for me. And again, high cost of publishing, which is a very, very vital area. Even I am a victim of many a times I am a victim of the publication. We spend so much of money in publication, and it goes in vain. And again, the most important problem in doing a research, any research for that matter, is time management. Because a research should not be done endlessly. Okay. When the research is done endlessly, it has no scope. Every research should be time bounded, because only, say for example, in our commerce field, okay, if you want to study about job satisfaction and its and its influencing factors, okay, by the time you do it, say for example, for 6 years or 7 years, that entire answers would have been changed. Because as the time passes, as we do it in social science, the it is very rapidly changing. Okay, so time management is very important in doing a research. That is very, and meeting the deadlines, timely deadlines, is also very important, which I will be discussing in the later part. And of course, work life balance is very important, and work pressure, and lack of funds. When we don't have enough funds, then again, doing a research is going to be a tedious task, especially when it comes to applied research, or a corporate research, or a policy decision research from the government of India, or something like that. Okay, so these are some of the problems which we may encounter in doing or in not doing an effective research, because the topic of the FDP is effective and quality research writing, right? So to be an effective research, we have to overcome all these problems. Only then it's possible. See, I may say easily that you have to overcome all these problems, but again, there is no one single answer for this. Okay, it is, again, the research problem is different for everyone. It is not a universal issue. It's a customized problem. For, see, for some people they will have resource constraint, for some people they will have lack of scientific training. So we have to identify what stops us from an effective research. That's more important. Okay, so next slide. And moving on further, I'll speak about the research ethics. Okay, and what are the principles actually which guides the research ethics. Okay, research ethics are not they are just a fundamental principles or guidelines which are actually responsible for an effective, a good research. What are the basic principles? Number one, that is the most I feel so, honesty. Because in honesty should be there in reporting the facts, in reporting the data, in reporting the procedures, in reporting the sampling methods, okay, and stuffs like that. And the very importance of a research is objectivity. Objectivity. What is objectivity? It doesn't change over the time. Right, for example, many people used to ask me, when we do this, when we guide this MCOM people, sir, for him the T test is significantly different, for me it is not different, sir, so I think I'm wrong. No, it is not. Your data, for your data, the T test may be significantly different or may not be significantly different. Both are answers. Sir, I got significant difference, fine. Sir, I don't get significant difference, fine. Both are results. Okay, there is nothing right, there is nothing wrong. What is my data at this point of time, if it is taken and when applied properly, gives me some results. There is nothing called right answer or wrong answer. Okay, it's about objectivity. Because many a times I have seen that, sir, F test la எனக்கு வந்து I am not getting any differences, so it means that I have gone wrong somewhere. No, it is not that way. Even if you don't get the difference, that again is an answer, that again is an output. Okay, so it means that there is no difference among the groups. That is what the F test actually displays. Okay, or that is what it actually says. Okay, so we have to go with the objectivity integrity, and we should be very, very careful because in research we get this biased error. Okay, biased error may happen at two places. One is researchers bias, the other one is the the careless negligence when it is done at the analysis stage. Okay, say for example, a respondent um, is mentioning his age as 18 or 19. Okay, and if you see his occupation is says as retired. Okay, then again there is no consistency in this data, because one says he is 18 and he says his occupation is retired. Okay, so there is the data is not consistent. Okay, so carefulness is very important. And the most important thing which majority of us will not agree for it, openness. Openness in the sense, when someone gives a critic or a criticism about our or observations about our research, we should be open enough to listen, and if it is acceptable, it should be accepted. See, having said this, um, I did my PhD, in a very systematic way, which was monitored by my professor. But I got so much of criticisms. My professor told me, take these criticisms because it has a logic. Okay, that criticism which has a logic, which has an very systematic observation, that can be taken. But for others, you need not listen to it. But you should be open enough to accept the critic. You should not just stop. You don't speak about my research. Okay, what do you know about it? I am a master of it. If you say that, then of course we are not going to grow in research, because I have learned this research for at least I have been practicing for 10 years. Still I'm learning. I'll tell you one example. I thought I'm very good at multiple regression. Okay, until 2 years back, I have been doing multiple regression, linear regression, especially multiple linear regression for almost 10 years. Okay, but I did one course in Swayam, which is called predictive analytics from IIM Bangalore. Okay, that one session which I attended in IIM Bangalore about the predictive analytics, that is about multiple regression, changed my complete perception on regression. I thought, okay, I have been doing it right. But the points which my professor, in that session, which he was saying, I just came to know that whatever that I have been doing it for 10 years on multiple regression, he has proved that I'm wrong. I was wrong in doing all these 10 years. First of all, I was not ready to agree that at all, because I was very confident that I have been doing it for 10 years. And then I also mailed him. I was, trying to justify my side. Then he literally, he broke all the myth what I had. And so then I have to accept. Of course, I accepted what he said because he was right in his logics. So that openness should be there, and a responsible monitoring again from the evaluator, or sorry, from the PhD guide should be there. And confidentiality, that is very important, because when you collect the data, see, at least ours is a commerce stream, it's fine. But when you collect data from medical field, the confidentiality is very, very important, because the data should not go out, because it's a it's a medical record. It's the data about a person, about their health or well-being or something like that. So even in our research, we should not give the data, because that's the reason when we prepare a questionnaire, we first we come up with that confidentiality, saying that I am so and so research scholar, and my guide is so and so, and I am doing a research on this. So I also assure that I will not share the information to any outside party, and I'll be using this for academic research only, right? We give that confidentiality, because when we say and give that confidentiality to the target audience or to the respondents, we should actually maintain that. That's more important. Okay, and finally, we should improve our competence, or the ability to do a research. For example, I would say in our commerce, I would say that definitely we have to enhance our statistical skill. And also with respect to English, I will, see, this is my opinion. I may beg to differ with you. So this is my professor's way, because my professor will go for a correction every word. So he doesn't allow me to give it to to an other person for English correction. Okay, because we have been studying English for 12 years, right? So I think this is the time that we can also learn English. This is the time where we can also learn statistics. Trust me, learning statistics is not that difficult. I'll tell you why. because I have learned statistics from my professor with various discussions across the years. Okay, but I had an aversion towards numbers in my earlier days of PhD. But then he created the curiosity. In fact, to be very frank with you, I have bunked, or I have I have failed in my 10th standard mathematics. Okay, just imagine, that is the point where I was. And today I have been called in various colleges for giving statistical analysis. I that's my major cup of tea. Even though I'm a commerce teacher, I'll be called by various institutions for teaching the statistics, basically correlation, regression, or any other multivariate techniques, stuffs like that. Just imagine, from a person where a 10th standard failed, I have come to this level. It's because that competency is very much needed to do a effective research. If I do not know, then how do I train my research scholar? Isn't it? So it's not that difficult. The only point is we have to make, like what we say in SIP, systematic investment plan, okay, for our finances. Similarly, every day we have to spend at least 1 hour, or at least 1 hour for our learning, so that over the years you accumulate. Okay, you add that, you accumulate that skills. Okay, I think I'm audible, and it's loud and clear, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, next slide, please. So I think the slides has not been changed. So this is what I was saying. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So sorry, previous slide, please. Previous slide. Next, previous. Yeah. So again, in principles, we also have responsible publication. That is very important. Avoid wasteful and duplicative publication. See, as I said, some 3 months before, I published a paper in UGC CARE. I went to that Savitribai Phule University UGC CARE consortium. I wanted to show you, but I am not in a position to show now. I also checked for the authenticity of the article, of the journal. Okay, and I published it. But now, I was seeing yesterday that article has been delisted. Okay, so again, it's a very challenging task. How to publish, without wasting our money. That's again a very tricky area. Even I, if people can have answers, I'm also ready to learn from you. So that is very much important. And when it comes to respect for intellectual property, that is very much important. That is where this plagiarism actually comes. I'm going to deal that in next few slides. And animal care, that is very important in actual science research, pure science research. Okay, for us, this clause doesn't actually fit in. So show the proper respect and care for animals when using them in research. So that is very important. Next slide, ma'am. So with this intention of having a impactful and a proper research, the UGC on 9th August 2019 came up with 2 courses for 30 hours for creating the awareness about the research and the ethics. One, to increase the awareness about the publication ethics. Number two, it is for publication misconducts. Okay, so that was made mandatory for all the MPhil and PhD scholars, as we don't have MPhil program now. It's for PhD. So we call that as RPE, that is research and publication ethics. So it has 6 aspects: philosophy and ethics, scientific conduct, publication ethics, open access publishing, publication misconduct, database and research metrics, and with this respective hours. So this is how it was planned, and I'll be dealing this in a brief way. Okay, next slide, ma'am. So the first one is about the philosophy and ethics. Next slide, please. Yeah. So that speaks about the ethics, the moral philosophy, and what is ethos, what is the moral judgment, and the basic fundas of ethical research. The second one is very important. That is about the scientific conduct, like what are the ethics with respect to science and research, what are the systematic way, and how do we have that intellectual honesty and research integrity, and what are the scientific misconducts, that is, we say this as FFP, that is fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. This is very important. I'm going to deal this separately in the next slide. And sometimes we publish paper in one article, and it goes waste, and then we publish the same article in the other journal. Okay, so these are redundant publication. These are duplicate. Actually, these are manipulation. Okay, which we should not do. Okay, so that's about scientific conduct, where we also speak about scientific misconduct. Next slide, ma'am. And in publication ethics, next slide, please. And in publication ethics, we study about the importance of publication ethics. And when it comes to conflicts of interest, this is majorly when a funding institution actually gives us a fund. Okay, so commercial interest, legal interest, financial interest. Okay, so something to do with that. And what do we do if it is an unethical behavior of the research people who does it. And it's about predatory, how to find out predatory publishers and predatory journals. So we have some of the initiatives which I would like you to go and google it later. I have also actually gone through. I wanted to show you, but I'm sorry, not in a position to do. The first one is scope. There is COPE, Committee on Publication Ethics, which is UK based, and WAME, CSE, and ICMG. Okay, and the next one is about open access publishing, where we have this Sherpa and Romeo. Again, that's about you can go to Google and do Sherpa and Romeo. You can find the article or the journals. Okay, it's like that UGC, CAR and Scopus and something like stuffs like that. And for our basic, we use either Scopus, or we go for UGC CAR. And again, the science people, they go for another. They do have their areas of interest where they publish. And the next one is the next module is about, next slide, ma'am, publication misconduct, wherein how to use this plagiarism software. Earlier, the University of Madras was using Urkun, to my knowledge, and some of the private universities, they use it, Turnitin. But I believe now the Madras University has started using Drillbit, which is again a software. I think it's a Bangalore-based software, plagiarism software checking. We do have many plagiarism software checkers in online, probably which you would have studied yesterday. I guess the librarian sir would have covered those areas. I believe so. And finally, it's about research metrics. We have this SNIP, that is source normalized impact per paper, SCM, SJR, okay, Samago journal rank, and H index, that is Hirsch index, I10 index, and stuffs like that. I wanted to touch on this slightly. Go to the next slide, ma'am. What is this? I have given what is that research metrics actually, and what is it, and what is the ideal score. Okay, this SNIP is what you can find that SNP score. They call it as SNP score in mostly in Scopus paper. They find this. Okay, so that's about, see, that SNP is for not the article that we write, but for the journal. Okay, so that is calculated like journal citation count per paper divided by citation potential in its subject area. Okay, so that's how they calculate. If you have more than one score in SNIP, it means that your publication is published in a very, very standard. You are very reputed. Okay, the next one is SJR, which speaks about the previous years, or 3 years publication. Again, the ideal score, what is expected, is more than one will be better. Then we have impact per publication, we have H index, we have I10. This I10 is about the last 10 articles that has been cited, our 10 articles cited by others. Okay, and this H index mostly goes with the science stream. Basically, if you have 20 plus in your H index, then you are a successful scientist. Again, this is based on number of years, for 20 years. Okay, and if your H index is 40, it's outstanding. Okay, so we have values for that. We also calculate that M value. I have also given you the formula in that: H index divided by number of years since the first paper that you have published. Okay, don't worry, I'll share this PPT with the organizer so that you can get this PPT. The next one, this is very important. Now we are moving to the next very important aspect. Next slide, ma'am. The research misconducts, what are they, which I was referring to, FFP. Okay, the first F is fabrication. What is fabrication? You actually create the data which doesn't exist. according to the result that you want it. Okay, so that is fabrication, that is making up the data or the results. Okay, either making the data or making the results according to your need. That is called fabrication. Okay, so we create a non-existing data. The next one is falsification, where you twist, you manipulate the research process, the research materials in such a way that you want the answer. So that is falsification, that is manipulation of the output. Okay, the final one is plagiarism. Plagiarism is that if you give an idea about a topic or a process or a method or a result without giving a due credit to that author who has actually said, then that is called plagiarism. Okay, you can come up with anyone's idea, but the point is you need to give the due credit that in this research paper he said this, then it doesn't become a plagiarism. And say for example, I quote someone's, okay, but I don't quote his name, then this means that as if I am saying my, as if it's my idea. No, that is wrong. That is where people go wrong. Okay, even if you cut, copy, paste, or even if you rephrase it, the due credit has to be given to the original author, else it leads to plagiarism. Okay, and we also have something called salami slicing. What is this salami slicing? Very simple. Say for example, I'm doing a research. Okay, and this, when I do a research, I can write a single research article wherein I can come up with 4 5 output. Instead of giving that, if I break that into a least publishable units, and if I show that as 2 papers or 3 papers or 4 papers, then that's called salami slicing. That is not actually that is not admitted. Okay, so salami slicing refers to the practice of partitioning or dividing a large study that could have been reported in a single research paper. So you divide that into different research articles. You divide one research article into 3 or 4, and then you try to show as if you have done 4 research articles. That's called salami slicing. Okay, next slide please. So why do we do all this research misconduct? Obviously no one does it intentionally, correct? We have so much of pressure, we have so much of basic, various reasons. So I have listed down some of the reasons for why we do this misconduct. So when you are an early researcher, for gaining the monetary benefits or for fear of blame, we do this. And for financial problems or for desire for fame, and again for us, basically for teachers, okay, we have the compulsion. So anything which is compulsed or which is made mandate may not yield the good result, is what I feel. So see, it's easy for me to say this, but everyone has a pressure. Even I have a pressure. Okay. As per the UGC regulations, at least I need to publish for my career advancement and stuffs like that. But the point is that's where the actual pressure starts. When you do a research out of pressure, but not out of inquisitiveness, then that research may not be effective. So I would strongly suggest to inculcate or create that inquisitiveness or that bent of mind so that we enjoy the process. See, when I started, I started, my professor, he did nothing except creating that inquisitiveness on me. So he will come up with always questions. So I have to come up with answer. That's called Socratic pedagogy. We also know this, right? Socrates has never taught anything, uh, anything black and white to his disciples. He always questions his disciples in such a way that his disciples come up with that idea. So when a question is being put forth, then you start thinking, then you come up with answer which you will never forget, or which you will, it will be very hard to forget it, right? So that inquisitiveness is very much important to get rid out of this research misconducts. Next slide, ma'am. So what are the different types of plagiarism that we have? Next slide, please. Yeah. So what is plagiarism? Basically, the plagiarism comes from the root word of Latin, plagare, which means to kidnap or to conduct. Okay. There are different types of plagiarism. I have just mentioned few. The first one, which we normally call it as global plagiarism or a ghost writing. See, today what has happened, unfortunately, whether you like or not, this is the truth. We do research, we do PhD, right? But not many of us actually does. Okay. Uh, and of course, I'm not generalizing the statement. Okay, so somebody writes for us, or somebody does for us, and we get the name. So that's called ghost writing, basically. Okay, that's called global plagiarism, which means we actually present an entire text which was done by someone else. Okay, we get the credit. The next one is paraphrasing plagiarism, which means someone has said a point or some content, we rephrase it in our language, but we don't give the uh, we don't give the name of that author in our paper. So that's called paraphrasing plagiarism. Again, today, unfortunately, I'm very sad to say, even our MCOM people, when we do the MCOM project, they cut paste from Google, and I believe there are some paraphrasing softwares, it seems, in Google. So they go to that paraphrasing websites, they copy paste, and it will tilt all the statements, all the sentences. But if you read that, those sentences will not make any meaningful sentence. Okay, so that is paraphrasing plagiarism. And verbatim plagiarism is just control X, control V, that is cut, copy, paste without mentioning his name. So that's called verbatim plagiarism, or we call it as photocopy plagiarism. The next one is potluck paper, or we call that as mosaic plagiarism, which means we derive ideas from various sources, and we try to connect it and make it one article, but we don't give the recognition of those people. Okay, then it's called potluck paper or mosaic plagiarism. And self plagiarism was not considered as plagiarism some time ago, like some years before. But now, even if it is, you are going to mention your own article, the previous article in the current article, you have to mention. Okay, if not, it's called self plagiarism. And finally, incorrect citation, this is very important. When you give, sir, I am giving citation, but if you don't properly cite completely, and if you do only halfway, it's called incorrect citation. And probably you would have learned about the citation styles. And now we have this MLA, APA, and stuff like that. Like 5 6 years before, I bought a book on MLA style of how to cite in MLA, modern language assembly, right? We had that. But eventually now, for the last 3 4 years, I think, no, not even before that, now we have started doing in APA style, that is American Psychological Association. I think it's in 7th edition is what is being currently done. But for few journals, they want it in Vancouver style or something style. So we have to abide by those regulations when we give it. Okay, so how to cite an article itself is an art. Okay, so when we don't give that, then all this leads to plagiarism. Okay, next one, please. Next slide. What if I go for a plagiarism? What will be the consequences of it? This plagiarism actually comes under section 57 and section 63 of Indian Copyright Act. Okay, so it's basically a criminal offense that actually. And under section 63A, okay, the penalty may range from 50,000 to 2 lakh rupees, or imprisonment for 6 months, or both imprisonment and fine. Okay, so these are the consequences. Apart from that, that a scholar may be expunged, a scholar may be suspended, and there may be a serious damage in our reputation when we go for this, and we may have a legal and monetary repercussions. Okay, and stuffs like that. So better we can avoid this fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. So I got this from this source. So that's the reason why I'm giving at the bottom. Where did I get it? And I was also referring yesterday whether any changes has been done. I think there is also some changes which are being done now, but currently this is the legal consequences which we may face when plagiarism is there. And um, there's also some changes in IT Act, which is being Information Technology Act 2000, which is also being in the pipeline with respect to plagiarism. Okay, next, ma'am. So with this, I'll move on to the next aspect, that is, what are the desired traits which a research scholars need? Now I'm focusing on the research scholars. Okay, because a research scholar is always a research scholar. Even if I become a research guide, I'm a research scholar, because there's no end for a scholar. Okay, so what are the traits which a scholar has to develop? is academic ability. That is very important. Academic competence is very important because consistent, continuous learning, lifelong and life wide learning is what they say, right? So, lifelong and life wide learning is very important to update yourself in research. Okay. See, even if you take this interval scale and ratio scale and ordinal scale, there are even today in research world there is a big conflict going whether this 5-point Likert scale is an interval scale or is it an ordinal scale. Okay, so and also about the p value. Okay, that probability value, right? Probably you would have learned if p value is less than 0.05, then there is a statistical difference. If it is more than 0.05, so there is also a big discussion going in about the p value in the research world. So it constantly evolves, so you cannot stop at a point for a research. Academic competence should be it's a continuous activity, and a research should be made accountable. If it is a research scholar, make him accountable. If it's a research supervisor, you take that accountability. That's very important. Persistence and good communication skill, because when I became a research guide, okay, I learned actually how to be a good critic, because I was not a good critic. I shout at my scholar, and then later I realized that is not the right way to speak to a scholar, because she's also, he or she is also putting efforts. Okay, so but the efforts may not yield a result as we expect. Okay, so at times we need to be a good listener and also be a good critic. Time management is very important, as I said earlier. Time efficient time management is very important for a effective research. Okay, and curiosity to learn, no, passion, hard work, that's very very important, and motivation. I never believe in the external motivation, because when we speak, when some motivational speaker speaks, you get motivated, but once we go home, that motivation will go down. Okay, there is nothing like self motivation. That's more important. Next slide, ma'am. Next slide. Next slide, please. Hello.
Yes, sir,
Next,
I
next one.
changed, sir.
Yeah. Please, please, yes. So there are some suggestions which I would like to give it to the research scholars. Number one, see, many a times we say that there is a big conflict between a scholar and a guide. Okay, so how to avoid that? There are certain few things which I have found out from my experience as a research scholar as well as a research supervisor. Number one, don't send your large part of work to your research supervisor. Okay, once you do, for example, you prepare 5 pages or 10 pages of your review of literature, go and sit with your guide. Okay, because it's easy to correct 5 to 10 pages rather than 50 or 100 pages. Okay, so don't send large pieces of work to a supervisor, because it makes the job very difficult. Number one. Number two, we should also take various other factors like your learning style, the area in which you work. Okay, the patterns and facilities. Okay, what is the stage that you are in actually. Okay, and what is the terms that you have agreed with your supervisor. That is very important. See, when I joined as a research scholar, my professor gave me for the first 1 year. Okay, the day I joined my PhD, he gave me a big list what I have to do for 1 year. For 1 year. Okay, he didn't speak about the topic at all. He gave me task for first 1 year, complete 1 year, and he said, you finish all these things within a year and come, and then we'll speak about it. And I said, okay, fine, sir, I'll do about it. Okay, because I learned methodology very strong at that point of time, because that actually helped me when I did my research. What is the technique that I need to find? What is the sample size that I need to estimate? It was very easy. That 1 year of time was actually an investment. Okay, so this is very important. The next one is keep a systematic and accessible records. For example, daily attendance, in case if you go to the college, have systematic accessible records. Okay, and DC meeting records and other things like that, and the reports that has to be submitted to the university. Okay, those things, please maintain a systematic record. The next one is have the knowledgement about the enrollment status, like what is the rule for full timers, part timers, and what is the rule for conversion of full time to part time to full time, and stuff like that. Okay, next, ma'am. Next. And discuss, that is very next slide, please. Yeah, discuss. That is very, very important, because this discussion doesn't happen many a times between the scholar and the uh, guide. Okay, so discuss prior to the submission of a thesis what has to be shown, what not to be shown, how to be shown, how to write it. Okay, and all those stuffs. And discuss plans with the supervisors prior to being absent in case you are going for a vacation as a scholar. Okay, please keep them informed and inform them prior. Okay, and complete all the required training in the timely manner. That is very important, because as I said, the first year what my professor said was to do a research to do a program on postgraduate diploma. See, he gave me a task that I have to do a postgraduate diploma in software based statistical analysis, which was given by Annamalai University. Okay, and he just not gave me this task. He also joined the task, he also joined the course along with me, and he also learned along with me. That actually made me to learn more. Okay, so this is very important. Actively engage with your supervisor and the department. Okay, and also the with the potential funding opportunities. Okay, so these are some of the things which I would say it for research scholar. Next, ma'am. I'll quickly um, go with the research guides roles and responsibilities. Next slide, please. Yeah. So these are some of the tips which I would like to say it for publishing in UGC. See, it's very easy for me to say. Don't go by only quantity, quality is essential, and all this, stuffs like that. Everyone will say this, but if we properly do it in a systematic way, as we say, okay, it is possible. We need not spend a penny. Okay, we have this in we have some of the standard journals wherein they don't get money except for the printing charges. Okay, so that's more important. Next slide, ma'am. Next slide. Yes, this research ethics is not just for scholars. We have been seeing research ethics for scholars, right? More equally, it is also applicable for research supervisors. This is very much important. As a research scholar, I have gained many experiences, but now I have the experience of producing one candidate. So I also have few good and bad experiences with a research scholar, so that I came up with this slide. Research supervisors will continue. Yeah. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. See, there's a very nice proverb which I actually like. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And when the student is truly ready, that is, if he is completely ready, the teacher will disappear, because he will promote to the level of the next, okay, a teacher. So this is a very, very important. And the role of a supervisor is to guide, to monitor, and to mentor. That is very important. So we are actually the steering. We say it in Tamil, the chukkan. In ship, we have this steering, right? So we actually steer the people in the right direction, and we also monitor the progress, and we also mentor and mend and bend them, okay, in the right direction. So this is very important. And the next slide, ma'am. So a role of the supervisor, as I said, he should first set the goal, like my professor set the goal for me, and he should be a better communicator. He should be a good trainer. This is very important. If yes, research guide has to be a good trainer, then he should know the content, he should know statistics, he should know English. Okay, only then he can train. Okay, so that's the reason why we have to build the academic competence so as to train our research scholars. Okay, more importantly, this is the one skill which you need to develop, that is listening. See, my research scholar comes up with 1,000 excuses, with 1,000 questions. Okay, so I have to listen and I have to answer them, and at times I have to motivate the scholar. Okay, I am the complete in charge for the quality of the of the project, and I should support when they actually break down, because everyone, no matter what your energy level, what your motivation level, at times we go down. Okay, psychologically we go down. At that point of time, the research supervisor must support the scholar, and we should be a good critic. Okay, a positive or a constructive feedback has to be given, and we should be an effective demonstrator. That is more important. My professor was an effective demonstrator, because of which I'm here today. If not for that, just imagine, it's very difficult for me, to be like this. He was a great demonstrator for me. He taught me how to do. Okay, that's the same way which I'm also following it. Next slide, ma'am. So the role of the supervisor, as you can see, next slide, please. Yeah. So it's about the directing, facilitating, advising, teaching, guiding, being a critic, and being a freedom giver, supporter. So supervisor has so many roles. So which make the research a more effective one. Okay. Next slide, please. Yeah. Next slide. Yes. So the if you see the responsibility, previous one, please. Yeah. So if you see the responsibilities of the supervisor, the first thing is he should be aware of the knowledge of the regulations, okay, about the policies and procedures, which changes from time to time in university, okay, and he should be familiar with the support services which are available to the students, because so that the student will get benefited, okay. And the next one is about the advice on the program. So he should advise, or he should give insights about the coursework, the research, and the seminars to be attended. Okay, the role of the advisory committee is very important. The doctoral committee members are equally important in steering the research scholars, and how to use the library and digital resources. This is very much important. When the research supervisor know how to use a library and digital resources, then probably he or she can teach the scholar in an effective way. So that is very important. Next slide, ma'am. Then about safety. Next slide, please. Safety. Yeah. So it is also the duty of the research supervisor to look at the safety of the research scholar in the working environment. That is more important, because many a times the scholars are being victimized, right, or being used actually in a negative way. Okay, so that must not be done. So the supervisor has to ensure about it. And when it comes to travel for data collection and stuffs like that, or for a field work, or for a presentation or something like that, so those things also the research supervisor should be known. And where is he going, what is the duration of the travel, okay, a movement register preferably, if it is being maintained, it will be very specific. Next slide, please. Next slide. And finally, about the communication, arrange for a regular meeting. See, I normally make a point that at least once in a day, I speak about 30 minutes with my scholar. So that 30 minutes will vary, either the first half of the day or the second half of the day. But I make sure that I have a regular meeting with my scholar. Okay. And having one-to-one interaction with the scholar will help you to understand what does the scholar undergo. Okay. And the review should be more objective, and it should be, be active and supportive. And in case if the research supervisor is going on a leave or on a lean or something like that, then again, as the research scholar is informing, the research supervisor also should inform the research scholar, so that they can plan accordingly. Okay. And a proper attendance register should be maintained. And finally, encourage the scholars to collaborate. This is very important. This again is one of the fantastic quality which my professor demonstrated. My professor had 6 to 7 people. So he will give every day a separate topic for us to read. And I have to come up with chi-square. Someone will come with t-test. Someone will come up with factor analysis. Someone will come up with regression. And every day we used to sit, we used to discuss, and we used to collaborate. And I'll teach about chi-square and he will teach about factor analysis. So something like that. Okay. This knowledge, transmission was there. So please encourage your scholars to collaborate with the fellow scholars. That's very, very important. Next slide. Next slide, ma'am. So the supervisor should have a very clear standpoint on number one, the topic must be an original topic, original contribution. Even if it is simple, it's fine. Okay, original contribution, and it should have social relevance, because when the scholar goes for any career advancement or something like that, if they ask what is the topic that you do and what was the outcome of that, okay, what is the relevance of that to the society, then it has a value. If you speak a study about which doesn't have a social relevance, then it has no value in it. Okay, so the outcome is very important, that is the managerial implication, who's going to use it, what is the takeaway from that research. Okay, so make the scholar accountable to submit on the agreed dates. That's very important. Again, my professor and I also do the same way. I'll give the deadline, or she will give the deadline, and on that date, as agreed, both of us should submit it. Okay, if my scholar submits a 20-page review of literature, I'll say that I'll correct it and then submit it within 2 days, and I have to keep up my word. It's the same case with the scholar also. Okay, so advice on the technical and methodological issues, this is very important, and help them to acquire the language skill and the statistical. Please believe me, learning statistics is not a big task at all. Okay, so don't allow any part of the research which will not have an impact full research. Okay, next slide please. So finally I conclude with next slide. Yeah, mutual respect. Know each other before the work begins. That is very important. Know each other. Regular communication. Motivation should be there. And finally, exhibit the professionalism. That's more important. The scholar also must exhibit professionalism. The guide also must exhibit the professionalism. Okay. And that will have an everlasting relationship. See, my professor is no more. Okay. He passed away like 4 or 5 months before. Okay. But the impact that he has created on me, okay, it is everlasting, and I never conclude any session without thanking him, or I never start any session without thanking him, because it is the impact that he has created on me. Okay, so the next one will be some lighter moments. I don't know whether you can see that in PPT. Next slide please. So these are some of the lighter moments which I wanted to have it. Probably I think you can view this, and I have given some of the references. Next slide, ma'am. Yeah, next one. So finally, I would like to conclude with one good English word which I love the most, that is perseverance. Perseverance is a very, very strong word. Okay. Um it has it has a deep meaning. Probably everyone knows about what that perseverance means. So I would like to conclude with that final Tirukural. This is the one which I always say to my scholars or my students. Devata Nagadyaninu Muyarchidan Meivartha Kulitarum. Even if God cannot do, see, in every religion we say that God is ultimatum, right? So God can do anything and everything, but even if he is not interested, or if he cannot do, the efforts that you put will get you definitely the expected reward, more than what you want actually. So, and research is definitely not an one time activity, it is a continuous activity, it is a constant evolving activity. So I would strongly suggest the audience to build the intent. Okay, the intent is more important. See, Dhoni says, right, always this intent is very important. So have that intent of painful the research intent, so that you will do an effective and an efficient quality research. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I am ready to take some of the suggestions or questions if any, and if I don't have any answers, probably if someone knows it also, you can also share the answer, or if I come to know the answer in a later stage, probably I'll also explain it in some other forum. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm ready for
Thank.
the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Participants, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself, or you can write in chat box.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll share the PPT for sure. Thank you for the good words.
you, sir.
Thank
Shall
you all.
we-
Sir, can you suggest us some journals where we can publish our papers? Again, this is very domain specific, ma'am. See, every domain has different journals. Probably we have to have a separate session for that. Probably you can discuss. Yeah, you can discuss with some of the people who are actually doing a research. Say, for example, in commerce, I used to say this Indian Journal of Marketing for marketing and other things. For computer science, yeah, there are plenty. Probably I'm not a best person to say it, ma'am, Sudha, ma'am. Probably if we get time, we'll have a discussion on that in a later this thing.
എടോ മറന്നുപോയി ദേ തന്റെ അമ്മയുടെ നീക്കാപ്പ് ശരിയാ
Okay.
Okay, sir. Shall we wind up?
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
1 second. So, dear participants, as we conclude the 7th day of our FDP program on effective and quality research writing phase 5, I thank Dr. Vijay Raghavan for his invaluable insights and guidance. Your expertise and profound understanding of research ethics have provided us with a deeper insight into the ethical considerations that govern our scholarly pursuits. Your contribution has not only enriched our knowledge but also instilled in us a greater sense of responsibility towards conducting ethical research. Thank you, sir. And also, I
Thank you.
extend sincere gratitude to all our esteemed resource persons for their invaluable contributions throughout the 7 days. Your expertise, insights, and guidance have enriched our learning experience and empowered us with essential skills for conducting quality research and writing. I extend special thanks to our officials, Brother Naveen Francis, Director and Secretary, Dr. Fatima Vasant, Academic Director, Dr. Arokya Mary Geeta Rufus, Principal, Dr. Anandapriya, Vice Principal. All your support have been instrumental in the success of this initiative. And also, I also thank our faculty members who have played pivotal role in organizing and facilitating this program. I also express heartfelt appreciation to all the participants for your active participation, engagement, and support over the past 5 years. Your commitment to continuous learning and your contributions to the program have been truly commendable. Once again, thank you all for an unwavering commitment, dedication, and enthusiasm. Let us contribute to collaborate and strive for excellence in research and academic pursuits. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.